I think most people like the idea of having a lean, shredded physique. It sounds cool, right? And for a lot of people, it's more that type of body where when you're wearing clothes, you don't really notice so much. And when you take the shirt off, it's like,
wow.
But how do you actually achieve that? When I first started working out, I was drawn towards movie star bodies. But at that time, it was less people like The Rock and Henry Cavill that I was drawn to, and it was more people like Ryan Reynolds, more specifically, Brad Pitt. In fact, one of my memories around that time is spending excessive lengths of time on bradpittworkout.com, copying down his Fight Club workout plan. And if I remember correctly, it basically consisted of 3 sets, 15 to 20 reps of a load of isolation exercises targeting small muscles. Looking back now, I can tell you that that was the complete wrong approach. And the approach that I'm going to tell you about today is pretty much the exact opposite of that high rep style training. You see, what I've learned over the years is there are 2 major components to building a shredded aesthetic physique. Number 1 is a low body fat percentage. You need to get your body fat percentage down low enough so all of that work that you're doing underneath, you can actually see it. And number 2, and this is the one that might be new to some people, is muscle density. How dense your muscles are. How many muscle fibers make up your muscle. And those dense muscles combined with a lower body fat percentage is what's going to give you that shredded, hard, aesthetic look all year round. Finally, before we get into the plan, one last important thing to note. When I first implemented these training principles, I already had a solid foundation of muscle to work with. And that was important because what we're effectively going to be doing here is crafting the muscles we have. If you wanted to craft a statue, you'd be better off starting with a huge big block and then chipping it down, as opposed to starting with a smaller block and trying to build it out. All that being said, if you are a newbie, if you are untrained, I would go away right now. No, actually, finish the video, click like, subscribe to the channel, but then I would go away and I would spend 6 to 12 months building a decent foundation of muscle first, and then I'd come back and I'd implement these strategies in order to take your physique to the next level. So without further ado, let's get into it. Just to clarify scheduling here, I do day 1, day 2, day 3. I assess how I'm feeling, I take 1 day rest, I take a 2nd day rest if I need it, and then I start the cycle again. We're going to be doing low reps here. We're going to be aiming for very, very heavy weights. We're going to do chest and back on day 1, we're going to do legs day 2, and we're going to do a full arms day on day 3. I always like to start off with my 2 heaviest lifts. It's going to be incline dumbbell press for chest, and it's going to be a lat pull down for your back. You're going to do 6 reps first to get yourself warmed up. You're then going to drop that down to 4 reps. These are what I call your primer sets. You're going to do these reps slowly. You're going to take your time, but you're not going to use an extremely heavy weight at this point. You're going to mimic the action of lifting something heavier, but you're going to keep a manageable weight. 2 sets of 4 reps. After that, we're going to bang the weight up even more. Again, we're not maxing out at this point. You're going to do 3 strict reps, time under tension, perfect form. From there, you're going to start pushing yourself. This is where it's going to become difficult, but this is where the changes are going to happen. 2 to 3 reps, maxing out. If you can get more, if you can get 4 reps, it's not heavy enough. You're going to do 2 or 3 sets of this. Once you've taken it to failure, that exercise is done. Muscle fatigue is going to play its part, but also it's going to be because the weight is so damn heavy compared to what you're used to. This style of training is going to take some getting used to go from that mindset of 8 to 12 reps and then change that into 2, 3, 4 reps. But it's going to be fun to see how far you can actually push yourself. So I would do the same there with lat pull down, being very careful of your form in order to avoid injury. Now with pulling exercises, for me, they're not as strong as my pushing exercises. So whilst the weight might not be as impressive here, it's still going to be the same principle of trying to take it into failure, getting yourself into your starting position, and then getting maybe 2 or 3 good reps out. Then we move on to round 2. I'm going to go for slightly higher reps here. We're going to go 4 to 6 reps. The muscle has already been pre-exhausted here, so we don't want to try and push it as heavy again immediately. For this second exercise, I would either do the traditional barbell bench press or a machine bench press, depending on what you're most comfortable with. Your back, I would do a rowing exercise, the cable seated row, or a chest supported row machine. Again, start off with a rep of 6, tune yourself in, drop it down to about 4, and then you're going to go for maybe 2 sets of 4 heavy reps. If you feel you can push yourself, go further, take it down to 2 or 3 reps, but really be careful on not injuring yourself on those already fatigued muscles. The last part of this workout, you're going to choose an isolation exercise. Now for this one, I always do across the upper back, including the rear delts, and then maybe some sort of fly for my chest. At this point, your muscles are going to be frazzled. Therefore, we're not going for strength. This is just to burn out. This is to finish off. This is to squeeze. I would do 2 to 3 sets, 12 to 15 reps, and absolutely burn out on this one. Now, I'm going to be honest. I am nowhere near as strong on my lower body as I am on my upper body, and I am not in that mindset where I'm so desperate to push myself that I'm willing to risk injuring myself. Therefore, I stick to the 6 to 8 rep range throughout my leg exercise, except for the last couple of exercises when again I burn out. I usually start with some sort of hack squat, preferably in a locked position such as a machine. So Romanian deadlifts, they're my 2 key lifts for the day. And I'm going to superset leg extensions and leg curls. I'm going to hit 2 calf exercises, high repetitions, and then I'm going to finish with 1 more exercise, whether that be a cable pull through to focus on my hamstrings and glutes, or maybe a goblet squat to give my quads a bit of extra attention. That is leg day done. Leg day doesn't really follow the same principles as the other 2 workouts because of the risks of injury, because you want to protect your lower back. You don't want to be taking unnecessary risks. This style of training is very similar to a powerlifter, but remember, we're not eating to complement that. We're maintaining a low body fat. That means we're going to be bordering on a calorie deficit at all times, so we do not want to be pushing ourselves beyond our means in order to achieve our goals. Finally, day 3, and as I said, I believe shoulders, building strong, dominant shoulders is the most important muscle group in your entire physique. I think if your shoulders are lacking, it's going to make everything else look smaller. So if you can build nice, big, wide, dominant shoulders, you're going to look 100 times more impressive when you whip that shirt off. I always start with a TRX stretching routine, which is going to help me to open my shoulders up completely so I've got a greater range of motion, and then I'm going to follow a similar principle to the chest and back exercises where I'm going to go for heavy reps in the overhead press. Now this can be very difficult to get into position compared to, for example, the dumbbell press. It can allow your back to support yourself. You don't want to be putting any additional pressure on your lower back. You want good strict form, controlled, but really pushing yourself. Start off with a warm-up set of 6. Drop it down to 4, take it to 2 to 3 to failure. From there, we're going to go straight into a rear delt row. Let's be honest, most people neglect the rear delts. That's why we hit them second. We do our compound lift first, and then we go straight for the weakest point. Because this is a small muscle group, I'm going to go high reps. 12 to 15 reps, 3 sets. I'm then going to address my arms. And again, this is where we go heavier. I'm going to do strict alternating bicep curls for my biceps, and I'm going to do a cable pull down for my triceps. I'm going to stick to 4 to 5 reps for each set, and I'm going to do 4 sets. Again, we're going heavy. This is going to feel challenging. We're not going to put ourselves in a position where we're swinging our arms, potentially injuring ourselves just in order to bash out a couple of impressive reps. Keep the weight in line, keep it strict, keep it safe. You're going to avoid all sorts of injuries. From there, I'm going to do some slightly heavier lateral raises with the dumbbells, and then I'm going to finish up by doing some cable lateral raises or machine lateral raises to finish my shoulders off. Again, as we progress through each session and the muscle becomes more and more fatigued, lower the weight, use higher reps in order to make sure that we're burning it out and maximizing what we can out of that muscle. So that is it, guys. Now, if you have already got a solid foundation of muscle and you implement those 2 principles of training for muscle density, addressing your diet so you can get a nice lower body fat, your muscles are gonna pop with this routine. Just like anyone else, I have to mix things up every so often because my body gets used to it, but this is my go-to routine that I always go back for when I feel like I really want to tighten things up, when I really want to tune things in. This is the routine that I always get the most out of. This is not necessarily about building muscle, which takes time. This is about your muscle adapting the pressure and stresses that it's being put under. You should be able to hit these sessions twice every 6, 7 or 8 days Now, if you're looking for diet advice to complement this video, check out my channel. I've got plenty of information on eating for weight loss, fat burning, getting shredded, so be sure to check it out. And if you like what I see, consider subscribing. If you found this video useful, please consider liking it. Again, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Thank you for your time, guys, and until next one, bye bye.